podcast. This is the very first one for the season. And after a lot of random plans and a lot of agreeing upon, and then power cuts, people backing out, etc., etc., the Napoli and Milan guys, by the way, are always ready. It's the host
Juve,
that goes missing
not
sometimes.
Milan.
And it's a big weekend for Serie A for the Roma and the Milan guys who aren't here, by the way. So we thought, yeah, let's go ahead with the ones we have. And thank you, Swarnim and Yogesh, for joining us on such a short notice from your busy lives, always making time. And we have a lot to discuss because we are in October. The season started back in August. But as we focus on the week that has gone by, very good week for in the Champions League for both. Swarnim and Yogesh for both Napoli and Juventus. And Swarnim, of all the things that happened on Tuesday night in the
Uh,
Champions League, I should say, where I can say Bayern were trailing, Juventus were trailing, and we thought there was some upset on the cards. But Paulo Dybala had some other plans in mind. What did you make of that game? Is my very first question to you.
See, as a fan, I'm very happy for the win, and I'm happy for Paulo Dybala for scoring two good goals. One of the first one, especially, was very good goal. But again, this international break and break from playing for the club definitely has impact on players, and I suppose Juve players still need a bit of time to adjust to the new coach's philosophy. But at the end, I was happy. Very happy with the result.
Yogesh, very good week for Napoli as well. I mean, Salzburg was, let's say, trying to come back into it, but Napoli, I think, had it all covered by then and managed to get all the points there. What did you make of that performance?
Yeah, definitely. Like last year at that same ground, we lost 3-1 to Salzburg in Europa League, and this time also they were a very tough nut to crack. Luckily, Insigne came off the bench and scored a amazing winner, and it was a good mature show of maturity by the entire team, and like, it's a very
Well,
good win after a rough patch.
Well, a good point you mentioned there. Lorenzo Insigne scoring the winner, but there's a certain Dries Mertens who's been firing the goals and the assist. What have you made of him this season so far? The man that's driving Napoli forward.
Mertens is enjoying his football. I think at the age of 32, you can still say he's at his prime, and he just surpassed Diego Maradona's all-time goal-scoring record at Napoli, and
Yes,
he's
sir.
loved by the entire city. And everyone knows his nickname, Chiro Mertens. Chiro Mertens. So yeah,
Hmm.
if he goes on like this, he has already proclaimed that he wants to break Hamsik's record before December. So yeah, Mertens
So
for
I didn't.
Cannavare.
But Yogesh, seriously, I mean, the Serie A is looking so competitive, far more than ever. Like in the last season, we witnessed Atlanta make it to the Champions League, and 8 weeks, 8 game weeks down the line, it's so competitive. Right from the first place to I think the sixth spot, anything can happen there. And
Mhm.
Juventus, obviously, with that lead, beating Milan after turning it around there, if I'm not wrong. Swarnim, what have you made of the Sari ball so far? I mean, it's starting to show that the Inter Milan versus Juventus game kind of showed there. I think Yogesh will agree as well with that the Sari ball has arrived at Juventus.
It has arrived, but changing from the playing style of Allegri to Sarri, of course. I love Allegri; he's a Juve legend, but the football is completely different. So if you expect even professional players to switch from switch to a complete different football mentality, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes time, and I'm very happy during this transition we have still managed to win games. So that's the biggest positive for me. And
Hmm.
yes, personally, I'm a big fan of attacking football. Actually, a lot of people don't know. Actually, I've worked with Mauricio Sarri in his Empoli days. So
And we
I,
have you on, yeah, and we have you on the podcast, yeah.
of course. So personally, I admire Sarri as a coach a lot. So I'm very happy he's at Juve, and I'm very happy the way we have been performing so far. And of course, there's a big room of improvement, but I believe we'll do it.
And Yogesh, I'm craving to discuss this weekend, but since the title says that we are about to review what's happened in the season, we all remember the Juventus Napoli game where the end was not sort of the one that Napoli fans want to remember. But that was a good fight put up, right? After going 3
Yeah,
0 down and then coming back
yeah,
to 3-3 and then almost snatching away that point at Turin.
yeah. Definitely. I'm like in the first half, the game was almost done and dusted, but I'm like we just got a spark. Having Lozano came off the bench, scored in his debut, scored a Napoli goal, and that was the key moment. And then Napoli scored off from a set piece position, and Juventus scored uh, from a counter attack. So, like I mean, like usually you would expect Juventus to be scoring from set pieces and Napoli doing the counter attack. So, because of Sari, it has turned around. So, it was a good game. It was a good game. I mean, like, but unluckily, Koulibaly had just come off
Very
from
unlucky.
Africa Cup of Nations, and he was not gelled with the team. It
Yeah,
happens.
very unlucky there. Very unlucky. And Swarnim, can you hear us? Yeah, Swarnim. So,
Guys, I can't hear you.
guys,
Just give me a second.
yeah.
There's some
So,
problem with the internet. I can't hear you. Just let me reconnect, please. Just give me a minute.
sure. So, and Yogesh, by the time Swarnim's coming back, Inter and Antonio Conte were on a roll until they met Juventus and obviously have that only defeat in the Serie A. What have you made of Antonio Conte's appointment, and especially the way the players look to play with an agenda now
Yeah,
compared to the previous?
I watched that game pretty closely. I'm like, Inter were putting up a fight in the first half, but in the second half, Juventus just rolled over them, and they just needed a spark. And again, Gonzalo Higuain, Sari's old boy, came off the bench, and he provided that creative spark. And the goal they scored was truly a beautiful goal. And like just they carved open the entire defense. Conte and Inter were banking on their defense to be much stronger this time, but Juventus just sliced it open and scored a amazing goal at Inter's home. So it was a
Yeah,
statement by Juventus. They won the Derby d'Italia. Inter have a lot of catching up to do.
So I guess
and
I'm back online at the right time.
absolutely. And we've been talking about Antonio Conte and Inter, and Antonio
Hmm.
Conte's impact on the club and the way
Hmm.
the players have gone about. I mean, some good acquisitions of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, who's kind of going through a rough patch, scored those 2 goals on his debut, etc. But what have you in general made up of Antonio Conte's appointment? Are they the nearest challengers to Juventus this season?
To be very honest, I've seen Antonio Conte work wonder with Juve, of course, as a player, as a coach. But still, it's too early to say anything. It's the same situation as Sarri with Juve. It's a different coach, different mentality. Of course, like you said, Inter signed some very good players: Alexis Sanchez, Lukaku, Stefano Sensi. So Inter is one of the challengers, including Napoli, of course. So I see this season Serie A is going to be one of the best seasons since 2011-12, I suppose.
I was just reading a banter on the internet, and there was this guy who commented, "How can Inter expect to win Scudetto with Antonio Candreva starting in the lineup week in week out?"
See,
So
Banter
and
mode
guys,
on.
see, Antonio
Right.
Conte is the coach who turned Alessandro Matri into a good goal scoring forward. So, with all due
yeah,
respect to Matri, so I think he can turn around Candreva as well.
let's see.
Um,
I hope
well,
he doesn't. I hope he
Well, I
doesn't.
have. Well, let me just give you a quick update from the live chat. Shahir is here, so hi Shahir. I think he's watching us, and I don't want to go there, but suddenly the agenda of this podcast is to discuss everything that's happened so far in the season. And since we've discussed Inter now, the next club in line is AC Milan. Milan, I should say. Any one of you who would like to take this up? I've seen a lot of tweets saying, "What's the circus that's going on at Milan? The management stuff, everything." And what have you made of their season so far? The new appointment and etc.
So you want to take this one, Yogesh?
Sure. After 8 games, Milan are still in this bottom half of the table, and like it will be a big, tough task for them to finish even in the Europa League spots. Being very practical and realistic. So, if they
And
finish on a Europa League spots, pretty good season for them, I guess.
and for me, the problem with Milan is not the coach. Even if they
Yep.
bring any guy, it's not gonna change overnight. See, for example, Inter Milan, they were in the similar position as AC Milan until a couple of seasons ago, and now they have started to rebuild from the bottom. The problem, I think, with Milan is the board that they want to build everything overnight. It's not going to happen like that. They need to start from scratch and then build their way up. Inter is doing that. Juve did that, but I don't think why Milan just wants to buy every single big player and get a big good coach and expect to win matches. It's not going to happen like that.
Yeah, if you remember last season, there was El Pistolero Piontek firing all guns, and I'm like, I'm not sure where's Piontek gone nowadays.
Exactly. See, they had good players like Piontek. They have good Patrick Cutrone. They have Suso. They have um, Chalano. I cannot even pronounce his name. I
Salanoli.
can't. And
Channel,
see,
yeah.
Gianpaolo is a fantastic coach, and I think it's a mistake by Milan to sack the coach because being a coach, it's like that. You get blamed for every bad result, but you don't get credit for a good result. Unfortunately, Gianpaolo was the scapegoat there, but I don't think he was the problem at Milan. I don't see things changing for Milan anytime soon, as unless they change their attitude.
And before we go any further, we have a question on live chat which has been asked by Shahir. He says, "What do you think about Thiago Motta's appointment as Genoa's manager? Are we ready for that 262?"
Okay,
No, no.
interesting.
The 262 is my
Yeah,
see like study on the internet and stuff. Yeah, 262. Yeah. So, guys, with the question, yeah, Yogesh, you can go ahead with that.
yeah, pretty good. I'm like, if Mota is coming back to Serie A and as a coach, I'm like, it's a welcome change. Very much excited and wishing him all the luck. May he follow Antonio Conte's footstep and be a good. I'm like, it's a new generation of Italian coaches out there, so it should be good. Excited for him.
It's definitely an interesting move by Genoa.
Definitely. And so there's one club more that has to be, yeah, and that's exactly where I was going. Vikram's asked that question. What have you made of Atlanta's performance so far this season? Do they have a chance to finish in the top four this season? Thank you so much, Vikram. I was going there, and that question has been brought up in the live chat now. So Atlanta is a club that's living its dream, and we saw them make it to the Champions League. They are still competing toe to toe with the best in Italy. What have you made of this season so far? Yeah, Swarnim, if you can go ahead with that.
Of course, of course. See, Atlanta. If you ask me if they have a chance, the answer would be absolutely yes. Even Milan can finish top four on paper, and the way Atlanta has been doing things, I wouldn't be surprised even if they finish top three and qualify for the Champions League, not via qualification run, but they get qualification. And Atlanta, the way they play, it has to be absolutely admired. There's no two ways about it.
So, Yogesh, any different take on that?
No, definitely. I'm like Atlanta is playing an exciting brand of football, and the majority of their team is still intact from last season. So I'm like, they are still strong contenders to finish in the top four.
Right. Okay, strong contenders for top four. Um, and now moving forward to the weekend, before we go on to Roma Milan, we have Lecce versus Juventus. Juventus make the trip away to Lecce, and Ronaldo's been rested for that game, obviously. So, what do you expect from that game, Swarnim, especially after Lecce managed to get a draw at San Siro? Yeah, so Swarnim, I think, lost his connection again. We'll come back to that a bit later. Yogesh, we have you now on the like focus, and it's Spal versus Napoli in this weekend. So Napoli fourth, sitting there, just a point behind Atlanta, 5 points behind Inter. How massive of a game is this for Napoli, considering the fact in the long run for the
Yeah.
season?
Yeah, judging by the pace that Juventus is setting up at the top, I'm like each and every point from now, I'm like, oh, the start of the season can be said was average or below average for Napoli. We
Hmm.
dropped quite a few points here and there, but now I'm like, we'll have to pick up the pace, and I'm like, we'll have to dig in and keep fighting, keep bringing those 3 wins. I'm like, it's that time of the season wherein you just have to cling on. Uh, no matter how the game is going on, you won't, if you're not getting a beautiful victory, at least get a victory.
Yeah. Good point there, Yogesh. And Swarnim, before I could get to you, one more thing, Yogesh. Some tough fixtures coming up, isn't it? In the next coming week, you have Atlanta, then you have Roma as well. Roma, the away trip to Roma, and then you have Milan as well towards the end of November. A big November coming up, a big 1 month coming up for Napoli, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, we are in the. There are 7 games in 21 days, and like 2 games are already done. Five will be coming up in like next 16, 17 days. And like, so players will have to dig in. And like, and you, if you start dropping points now on, I'm like, in March, April, I'm like, there won't be much left to fight for. So I'm like, you just have to bag in these points.
Perfect. So let's get to Swarnim, if you can hear us
Mhm.
once again. Yeah. So we're asking you on the away game that Juventus go to here,
Mhm.
away trip to Lecce, and they managed to take a point of Milan. They managed to get a point from San Siro. How tough does that make them? Tough of an opponent does that make them? Yeah.
See, Lecce is a team with a very good history, very good background, and of course they are back to Serie A this season. So on paper it should be an easy match, but you never know. They managed to snatch a point with Milan from Milan, and I hope they don't do it with Juve. And the biggest thing for me, the biggest news for me is again Ronaldo resting and the under 21 player Han getting a call up in the senior team. That's
Mm.
the biggest news for me. I'm really excited for him, and I
Well,
hope.
so yeah, and so it's safe to say that the next 30 days are the most important for most of the teams. I mean, you have all the big fixtures coming up, and I think we've hit we are coming back on the podcast at the very right time because we have the big fixture this weekend. Although Shahir, I don't want to make you laugh anymore, and he says Milan is not a tough game, but it's Roma versus Milan. Milan will always be a top side no matter what happens, and
It's a prestigious game.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's Roma versus Milan, guys. And since we don't have anyone from Roma, we don't have anyone from Milan here. Let's build up to the game. It's at Stadio Olimpico. I'm getting my pronunciations correct, to be very honest.
It's
I'm working
Stadio
on it.
Olimpico.
Olimpico, yeah.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Yogesh, let's start with you. Roma, Milan, an injury ravaged Roma side against a Milan side who's looking for, some background, some ground to start their seasons, a turnaround in the season. How big of a game is this for both the sides?
Yeah, definitely. So Milan had a week of rest. They are not in Europe, but Roma came off a very disappointing Europa League campaign. They conceded a goal penalty at 95th minute, which was a controversial penalty. So I'm
Hmm.
guessing Roma would be a bit tired, and Milan players. If Milan win this one, it would be a statement of purpose by them. It would be a huge statement for the new coach, and it would be a good motivational win for the team. I'm
Hmm.
backing Milan to just nick in this one just because Roma are already tired from the weekday fixture.
Hmm.
Yeah, and on to you. Yeah, the Roma Milan game. We're talking about the Roma
Uh, uh,
Milan game. Yeah.
this is See, for me, this would be the perfect opportunity for Milan to show whether they're gonna do something this season or it's gonna be another disappointing season for them. It's the game for Milan. It's the chance for the new coach. It's the chance for the club to prove its worth now. And if you ask for my prediction, I think it's gonna be a 1-1 draw or
Hmm.
a 1-0 win for Roma.
A 10:30 p.m. game on Sunday, and the big one from Sunday. let's take a few questions there, Yogesh. The first question is, and Chintan asks this: why is Atlanta doing so badly in Europe?
Maybe just because it's some immaturity. I was watching a few of their games and like they were playing from it's my belief they were playing too openly. I'm like they just kept on attacking instead of like you're playing in the Champions League for the first time in your history. Go slow and like it would be an intelligent approach to like go slow, keep like till 60 minutes try to be at nil and then try to nick and win at the end. But Atlanta, I'm like maybe it's they're in the blood, it's their playing style. They just went on and keep on attacking from the start and come 60 70 minutes and like players naturally get tired from all the running and closing down the entire game. And it's Champions League, so quality comes in when it matters, and they are just getting pummeled at the end of the games. Even with
Well,
Manchester
yeah,
City, they took a lead,
yeah.
and then it was that Manchester City came back and banked in 5 goals. But they
Hmm.
did take a lead.
I think apart from the first game where they lost 4-0, I think they've taken lead in both their games and then
Yep.
gone on to lose. And the last one was pretty much, I can say, a harsh one for Atlanta to take. But I think Man City and Sterling had other plans and they were just like out of the world. But Atlanta is having its debut season, and we've got a question for Juventus,
Hmm.
Swarnim, and it is: let's talk about Rugani. What next for him?
I think it would be best for him to find a new club. It might not be the most popular opinion, but he's 24, I guess, and he needs a place where he can play. Clearly, he's not among the top names to play for Sarri and for Juve. With Bonucci, De Ligt, Demiral, and Rugani, I think it would be better for him to find a club elsewhere. Probably Roma could be a good option for him, or even Milan.
All All right. So, Swarnim and Yogesh, let's have your prediction or let's have your say on the dark horses in the Serie A this season.
Atalanta, absolutely.
Definitely, I'm like Atlanta, and I'm betting a few points on Fiorentina as well. I'm like they have a good team, they have a good coach. Might be exciting.
Hmm. So, one final question before we sign off on today's podcast, and that is from Chintan: is Atlanta's representation bad for the Serie A?
Sorry?
Is Atlanta's representation bad for Serie A? I mean, in the Champions League. I'm sure he's talking about the Champions League.
Absolutely not, man. Chintan, see, Atalanta is a team. You have to respect the team that's playing for the first time in the history, and losing 5-1 to Manchester City is nothing to be ashamed about. It's their second only season in Europe. Last season was Europa League, but this time is Champions League, and it takes time. I think it's a signal of intent from Serie A for other European leagues that even not the big teams from Serie A can be a dangerous threat.
So, guys, let's before we sign out and like we do, let's have your prediction for this weekend, which we can probably come back to in the next episode, and that's always fun. So let's start with Yogesh, and let's start with Spal versus Napoli.
I'm expecting a clean sheet and a 2-0 win would be very good. Have Insigne, Mertens, maybe Milik on the score sheet.
Well,
I'd say I'd say 3-0 with Insigne, Mertens, and Fernando Llorente
all right,
Same.
for Napoli.
3-0. So both of you predict a clean sheet. Lecce and Juventus. Swarnim, let's start with you this time.
2-0, Higuain and one of the midfielders.
Hmm. Yogesh, Inter versus Parma.
Inter will probably Inter's win, but I'm like Parma has caused them trouble in past fixtures. Maybe I'm like depends. Inter
I'd
is
say
tough. Inter might win it. They are coming off from a 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund. Must be high on confidence. They'll nick this one.
I'd say 2-1 for Inter.
All right, Atlanta and Udinese.
1-0 Atalanta.
All right, Yogesh, and Swarnim, years where both of you have to predict. It's Roma versus Milan, and then for Fiorentina versus Lazio.
You go first,
So,
Yogesh.
I'm expecting Milan to win over Roma just because Roma is coming up from a Europa League fixture. A disappointing one that too.
I'd
Shahir, are you
say
listening? Yeah.
I'd say 1-1 draw or 1-0 win for Roma.
Roma. So Yogesh has picked Milan, Swarnim's picked Roma, and we have a balance here. And we have one more game, which is Fiorentina and Lazio. If you guys haven't forgotten, yeah.
I'll predict a victory for Lazio, but I'm not sure about the score. And either it's gonna be a dull match with 1-0, or it's gonna be a match with like 5 goals in the match.
Hmm.
As a
It's
fan,
one of the games you cannot really predict.
I want to see Fiorentina win and come up and represent Italy in the Europa versus Champions League. That's why I want a Fiorentina win.
All right, guys. Wonderful to have you and some amazing discussion done throughout. And also, thank you to everyone who tuned in on the live chat. The Panenka View Italian Calcio, as they say, Calcio edition is back. And hopefully, the three of us, you will be seeing the three of us more often. That's what I can guarantee you from our experiences in the past few weeks, that you will be seeing the three of us more often. And if any of from AC Milan or Roma or Inter want to join, or anyone at even Atlanta, maybe, you are always welcome on the Panenka View podcast. So until next time, have a great Diwali, have a safe one. Happy Diwali to everyone. Before we go, we are
Happy
on
Diwali,
Spotify.
guys.
Yeah, we are. The Panenka View is on Spotify. The Panenka View completes a year this Sunday, and it's going to be a big one this Sunday. So let's hope you continue supporting us. From Swarnim and Yogesh, host Prasad signing out on this episode of the Panenka View podcast.
Bye bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.